Hi, this is Danny Gregory, and it's first thing Monday morning. It's 7:51 on Monday morning, and I realized I hadn't really put together my sort of weekly news thing, so I thought I would just kind of throw it together now. I'm inspired in part by a podcast of Donovan Freeberg, whose work. Now, who the hell is that on the phone? Anyway, the thing is, our phones tend to ring most, it seems, between 7 and 8 in the morning. It's rarely for me, and in fact, I almost never answer the phone. But anyway, people figure they'll get us at this point of the day. But right now, Patty is out with the dogs, and Jack went back to bed because his camp doesn't start till 9:30. Anyway, so Donovan Freeberg has started this video podcast, and he's doing it very simply, very straightforwardly. And I thought, I should probably just be a little less fancy and artful and just kind of get things done by doing things that are simpler and more straightforward, like this. So, another thing I found also in doing these podcasts was that the whole thing of talking to myself, particularly when I was sort of rambling on these heavier kind of essay topics that I usually tend to write about, was just tedious and kind of disengaged in this weird way because, like now, I'm just talking to myself. So I'll try and keep it shorter, and I'll try and be more, informational. It's been a sort of ridiculously hot week again, and but kind of more pleasant, less rainy. Enough of the weather. Sports. There was some kind of sporting activities this week, but anyway, irrelevant to me. I think probably the thing that preoccupied me the most this week was my health. And I'm an intense hypochondriac, and I'm a particular kind of hypochondriac. I don't know that there are subdivisions that have been acknowledged by the the official publications, but I feel like I am a particular type. There seem to be hypochondriacs who constantly run to the doctor and are convinced that they have horrible things wrong with them, only to discover that the doctor disagrees, and then they go to other doctors and so on. I'm not that kind of hypochondriac. I'm a different kind. What I am is sort of a silent sufferer. I tend to think that I have all kinds of things wrong with me, and the whole thought of going to the doctor is just too terrifying to even deal with whatever it is that's wrong with me. And it's just completely asinine, horrible weakness that I have. But and I am making sort of various kinds of efforts to try and overcome it. But this week I had to go to the doctor just because I needed to renew a prescription for a thing for a rash that I had a couple of years ago. And the nurse at the doctor had said, "Oh, you haven't had a physical in a few years." And I've only ever had one physical. And it was, needless to say, it was traumatic and, of course, revealed nothing. And although I know that I should be getting physicals, I kind of don't. But anyway, this time I didn't really have an opportunity to argue because she said, "Oh, I see you don't have a recent physical in your record, and there happens to be an opening tomorrow at 2:30, so why don't you just come in?" And I thought, I just don't really have a good excuse for not doing it. Just seize the bull by the horns, risk being impaled and bloodied and disemboweled, and just go ahead and do it. So I did. And I spent 24 hours of sort of heightened anxiety and spoke to my mother and my sister and my wife, all of whom understand and in certain cases share my anxiety. And the best sort of philosophical advice seemed to be that whatever it is that is wrong with me tomorrow is wrong with me today, and if I defer it for a month, will continue to be wrong with me, so I might as well just find it what it is and get it over with. So, see that psychosomatic cough? Let me drink some tea. Maybe that will resolve my issue. Anyway, so I went to the doctor, and he examined every sort of bit of me and discovered that there was nothing wrong with me except when he took my blood pressure. And my blood pressure was a bit high. And he said, "Oh, your blood pressure seems to be a bit high." And I said, "Well, could that be what's called white coat anxiety, which is that if you're terrified of doctors and you're in a state of dudgeon and high tension, when you have your blood pressure taken, it will be high?" And he said, "Yes, I guess that's possible. Or, you have hypertension and, are likely to have a stroke or heart attack or so forth. So I said, well, what do I do? And he said, well, why don't you buy yourself a blood pressure monitor and take your blood pressure and see if, when you're not in the doctor's office, it goes down. So I did buy a blood pressure medication monitor thing. Here it is. There you go. Well, anyway, I bought this little monitor, and it arrived from Amazon a couple days later, and I rigged it up. And when I took my blood pressure, it was high. And I took my blood pressure 4 times, and each time I took it, it got a little lower. So the next morning I took my blood pressure again, and it was lower. And the next morning I did it again, and it was lower still. And now, sort of 4 days into it, I've discovered that, I don't know, all the readings are kind of completely in the normal zone, and my pulse is normal, and once I'm kind of relaxed about it, it's normal. So I'm going to continue taking it for a month. Meanwhile, I have resolved that, my life has now been drastically shortened by this trauma, if nothing else. And, I will eat more healthfully and take longer walks. And as you can see, my face is bright red now, bright reddish, and that's not due to some sort of apoplectic, high pressure kind of crimson-faced, sweaty Englishman thing, all of which I am, but more because I was in the sun a lot yesterday, risking melanoma, and walking around a lot. And I tend to walk for about, half an hour to 45 minutes every day, going back and forth to work. But now I've kind of, intensified that. So, I don't know, you probably don't care about much of this, and it's probably lowered me drastically in your estimation that I'm this sort of dithering, weak, pathetic creature. But, I don't know, that's what I am. I did a certain amount of drawing this week. I did a really nice big spread watercolor of the piers yesterday, which is part of the reason why I'm bright red. And I'm waiting on sort of pins and needles this week to find out if my new book has been accepted by my publisher. And, that's about it. Last week I was fairly busy doing things for Everyday Matters, and now it looks like we've gotten this kind of blog thing worked out. A couple of other people have actually chimed in and added better versions of what I was trying to do that'll be more automated. And, that's more or less it. So we'll see. This is another version of this kind of video podcast doodad. I don't know if it's any interest to you, but maybe I'll try a different kind next week. But again, thanks to Donovan Freeberg. And if you have the chance, check out his thing. He uses sort of horrible puppet that he has dialogues with, and perhaps I should do more puppetry. I did have that dialogue with Dr. Sock a couple weeks ago that was, moving and riveting and entrancing, and so perhaps I should do that again, but not this week. I have to go and check my blood pressure again. So bye-bye, and thanks very much for wasting some of your time with me.